Imagine living in a world where 37% of your neighboring countries harbor negative feelings towards your nation. Welcome to Russia's reality. As we embark on this journey, we find ourselves delving into a complex and often contentious global sentiment towards Russia. In an astonishing revelation, 37% of Russia's neighboring countries view it with a level of disapproval. This is not just a simple case of differing political views or cultural misunderstandings. It's a deep-seated sentiment that has its roots firmly planted in history. Historical events have a way of leaving lasting impressions, shaping the world's perception for generations to come. And for Russia, this is no different. The Cold War, a period marked by political tension and nuclear threats, significantly impacted Russia's global image. Many nations, especially those that were once part of the Soviet Union, continue to bear the scars of this time, their perceptions of Russia colored by the memories of a divided world. But it's not just the Cold War that has cast a shadow over Russia's reputation. The annexation of Crimea, a move that was widely condemned by the international community, has further painted Russia in a negative light. This act of territorial expansion not only strained relations with Ukraine, but also sent shockwaves through the international community, leading many to question Russia's respect for international law. And then, there's the elephant in the room, the alleged election interference. Accusations of meddling in foreign elections have only served to amplify the distrust towards Russia, adding fuel to an already blazing fire. While these allegations remain contentious, their mere existence has further tarnished Russia's global standing. These historical events, along with ongoing political tensions, have woven a complex tapestry of global sentiment towards Russia. It's a tapestry that is as intricate as it is unsettling, reflecting the realities of international politics. Now that we've set the stage, let's dive into the details, starting from the very beginning. The seeds of animosity were sown during the Cold War, a period of geopolitical tension between powers in the Eastern Bloc and powers in the Western Bloc. This was a time when the world was essentially divided into two camps. On one side, we had the United States and its allies promoting the ideals of liberal democracy and capitalism. On the other, we had the Soviet Union, now Russia, and its allies advocating for communism and a planned economy. The Cold War, which spanned from the late 1940s to the early 90s, was not just about military supremacy or the race to the moon. It was an ideological battle, a clash of beliefs and systems that fundamentally shaped how nations perceived each other. This period brought about a deep-seated mistrust and hostility that continues to influence international relations today. Economically, the Western Bloc, led by the United States, thrived on a capitalist system. They believed in free markets, private ownership, and competition. In stark contrast, the Eastern Bloc, under the Soviet Union, operated on a planned economy. The state controlled production, distribution, and set prices. These economic disparities further fueled the animosity between the two blocs. Politically, the Western Bloc was characterized by democratic governments, where citizens enjoyed a degree of freedom and civil liberties. Conversely, the Eastern Bloc was dominated by single-party states where dissent was often suppressed. The stark differences in political ideologies further widened the chasm between the East and the West. The Cold War was a time of intense rivalry and suspicion, a period when the threat of nuclear annihilation loomed large. It was a time when alliances were forged and broken, when propaganda was a powerful tool, and when the world lived in the shadow of two superpowers. As we delve deeper into this topic, it's essential to remember that the Cold War was not just a chapter in history. It was a series of events that shaped the world we live in today. The Cold War may have ended, but its effects are far from over. Fast forward to 2014, Russia's annexation of Crimea triggered a new wave of international condemnation. This act of territorial acquisition happened in a time when geopolitical lines were thought to be firmly drawn and respected. The annexation was seen as a blatant disregard for Ukraine's sovereignty. The world watched in astonishment as Russia, in a swift and strategic move, claimed the Crimean Peninsula. This act was not just a territorial dispute, it was a direct challenge to the international order, and the response was swift and unanimous. In the wake of the annexation, Western countries, led by the United States and the European Union, imposed a series of sanctions on Russia. These sanctions targeted key sectors of the Russian economy, including finance, energy, and defense. The aim was clear: to cripple Russia's economy and pressure it into reversing its actions. But Russia remained steadfast. The sanctions, although damaging, did not deter Russia. Instead, it deepened its hold on Crimea, integrating the peninsula more firmly into its territories. Meanwhile, Ukraine's relationship with Russia took a nosedive. The annexation was a direct violation of Ukraine's territorial integrity and a severe blow to its national pride. Ukraine, backed by the international community, continues to assert its claim over Crimea. But the reality on the ground remains unaltered. The annexation also led to a further deterioration of Russia's relationship with NATO. The alliance, formed as a counterweight to the Soviet Union during the Cold War, saw Russia's actions as a direct threat to European security. The annexation of Crimea, thus, exacerbated an already strained relationship. In a nutshell, the annexation of Crimea was not just a territorial dispute, it was a clear demonstration of Russia's willingness to challenge the international order, to redraw geopolitical lines to suit its interests. It was a bold and unanticipated move that sent shockwaves across the globe. The annexation of Crimea was a turning point, marking a new era of increased tension and distrust. In recent years, allegations of Russian interference in foreign elections have further strained relationships. The spotlight, however, seems to be most intensely focused on one event in particular: the 2016 US presidential elections. The whispers of alleged interference in this pivotal event sent shockwaves around the globe, and soon they weren't just whispers anymore. The US intelligence community, in a show of rare consensus, concluded that Russia had indeed meddled in the electoral process. They asserted that the interference was a calculated effort, aiming to undermine public faith in the US democratic process and disparage the then-candidate Hillary Clinton, while helping then-candidate Donald Trump. Following these accusations, a comprehensive investigation was launched, infamously known as the Mueller investigation. For nearly 2 years, the world watched with bated breath as investigators painstakingly pieced together the puzzle of Russia's alleged involvement. The investigation's final report, delivered in 2019, established that the Russian government interfered in the 2016 elections in a sweeping and systematic fashion. This conclusion, however, did not come without controversy. The report's findings were met with a polarizing response, with some accepting the conclusions as fact and others dismissing them as political maneuvering. The fallout was considerable, and Russia's international standing took a significant hit. The allegations of election interference have had far-reaching implications on Russia's diplomatic ties. It's not just the US that has expressed concern. Several other countries, including the United Kingdom and Germany, have also voiced suspicions of Russian meddling in their political affairs. In the arena of international politics, trust is a delicate and precious commodity. Allegations such as these can severely damage that trust and deepen existing divisions. For Russia, these allegations have fueled tension, increased suspicion, and driven a wedge between it and many of its global counterparts. Alleged election interference has further complicated Russia's relationship with the world, leading us to the present day. Today, Russia's international reputation remains tarnished, with many countries still harboring negative feelings. As we navigate the complex terrain of global politics, it's clear that Russia's actions, both past and present, have left a distinct and indelible mark on its global image. From the icy fjords of Norway to the bustling metropolises of the United States, Russia's reputation takes on various hues, often colored by a mix of historical baggage, political ideology, and real-time geopolitical maneuverings. Let's delve into the present-day perceptions of this Eurasian giant, focusing on the countries with the highest disapproval rates. In Europe, particularly among NATO members, Russia's perceived aggression continues to stir unease. The annexation of Crimea, alleged election meddling, and continued tension over cybersecurity have all played their part in shaping a narrative of Russia as a potential threat. Across the Atlantic, the United States echoes similar sentiments. Despite the end of the Cold War more than 3 decades ago, vestiges of mistrust and rivalry still linger, exacerbated by recent allegations of election interference and cyber attacks. In the Middle East, countries such as Saudi Arabia and Jordan also express considerable disapproval of Russia, largely due to its involvement in Syria and its alliance with Iran. These negative perceptions, however, aren't just about historical grievances or political posturing. They have real-world implications, affecting everything from trade and diplomacy to cultural exchanges and international cooperation. Yet it's important to remember that international relations aren't static. They're fluid, constantly evolving with the changing tides of global politics. Today's foes could be tomorrow's allies, and vice versa. So where does Russia stand in the grand scheme of things? It's clear that it has a steep hill to climb. The road to restoring its global image is fraught with challenges, but Russia is no stranger to adversity. In the court of global opinion, Russia has a long way to go in repairing its image, but as history has shown us, this is a country that is no stranger to adversity.